Hello everybody and welcome to the Automation Village. I'm Dave with VTScada by Trihedral, and today we're going to be taking a look at the VTScada users forum, taking one of your questions and stepping through. Rather than just posting the solution on the forum, I thought it would be fun to walk through how we problem solve these solutions and teach some of you guys how you can go through the steps yourself and use some of the built-in tools in VTScada to solve these problems. So the question that we've picked today is a question from H2O Tom, and H2O Tom is looking for a way to take a group of alarms and look for any alarm that's sitting in the unacknowledged state for a period of time and create a new alarm based on that. So let's get into how we go about solving that problem. I'm going to use the MC HydroStation app because it's a great demo. You've probably seen it a bunch of times before. Now, before we dive into the solution, let's break the problem down into its components. So H2O Tom says, hello, I'd like to set up a digital alarm or status for any active alarms that are unacknowledged and not shelved. So that, to start off, is a condition. So we'll probably create an alarm tag for that, and we'll use an expression to try to set that condition to be a discrete on or off. And then they also want to operator or whomever 5 minutes or more before that alarm actually triggers. And that should also be something that we can do in the alarm tag. So let's kick things off. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do to assist me with this one is to use the VTScada Source Debugger. And that's going to allow us to scope into some of the tags and try to go from there. So if you don't see the Source Debugger here, then you're going to go up to the top and say Add New Application, go to Advanced, say Find Existing, and then you'll see the Source Debugger in the list. Just make sure you're looking in your VTScada installation directory. So let's get started with the Source Debugger. So this pops up pretty quickly, and we're going to connect it into our HydroStation app, which we can do by clicking here, or we can click on this and just click right into whatever you want to see. So in this case, I'm actually looking for a higher level area. So I'll just bring up the tag browser. You can see right where we're going into. So what we want to do is go into Bernoulli Lake here, because that's where all the HydroStation tags are. And this is where we're going to apply that monitoring. So other areas of this, we're not going to alarm on any alarm in those areas. It's just going to be applied to Bernoulli Lake for this demo. So let's just jump back to that Source Debugger. And next up, we need to find out exactly what we need to call to create that condition. So we know that we want to apply this to Bernoulli Lake, and Bernoulli Lake was a context tag. So we're going to scroll up here to the context tag. So right here, you can see that we've got 3 instances of context tags. So we're just going to look at the names here and see Bernoulli Lake is instance number 3. Now if we scroll down through the different properties of this context tag, then I know that very close to the bottom here, we will find, here we go. So you can see here the alarm state stats. And one thing to note about this is how we actually scope into this is a little bit different, because in the expression, you can't actually use this asterisk. So typically it would be a little easier to scope into this, but because the asterisk is part of the name, we'll have to use the scope function to do it. So let's just bring that up into a window, and we'll do a quick demo of what we're looking at here. So you can see here inside this alarm state stats for the Bernoulli Lake context tag, you can see right now that there's really nothing happening. But if we were to do something to trigger an alarm, we can bring this up to say 40 on the low level. And then you see here that we have 1 active, 1 acknowledged. And if we go into the alarms thing, then you can see there the unacknowledged and the active. So the expression that we're going to create basically says for anything in Bernoulli Lake, if this list isn't cleared in 5 minutes or at any point within 5 minutes, then we're going to activate that other alarm. So in this case, we can just acknowledge that. You can see that it disappears. It's still active, but it isn't unacknowledged. So you can see there the active count. And if we were to take that alarm and to shelve it, then you can see here that it moves into shelved. So let's just go to shelved, and we will unshelve that alarm, bring everything back to normal, and go down to the overview, and let's change that set point back to 12 for now. Okay, so everything's back. The system is in a nice state of homeostasis, and we will start on our condition. So we'll open up the tag browser again, and here we're not going to put it in Bernoulli Lake. We're going to make something that is apparent to Bernoulli Lake. It doesn't really matter where we put this. I'm just going to put it outside of Bernoulli Lake for the point of the demo. So we're just going to say a new tag here. We're going to select an alarm tag, and we're going to call this Bernoulli Lake Alarm Act Delay. Okay, so we got Bernoulli Lake Alarm Act Delay, and say here, Okay, so next step, we're gonna have to do the trigger. So basically, let's jump past that for a moment and just make sure we get the alarm set up. So we're basically gonna say if this is, we're going to say greater than or equal to 1, which is essentially the same as true. Then we're going to go off. The on delay for this alarm, they said that they wanted it to be 5 minutes, so that would be 300 seconds. So we can put a 300 in here. But for the sake of making this reasonable, let's just put in something that isn't so long, like 10 seconds. And then in the actions here, we'll do a critical alarm, and everything is fine for that. Okay, so next up, we're going to look at our expression. So this is where we have to build that condition. So I'm just going to make the expression editor a little bit larger here for you to see it. Not that it's going to be terribly large expression. So we'll clean out what's there. And over here, we have the function selector. So this can really help us come up and build a function. So I had noted before that we would need to use the scope operator because of the asterisk in the name. So we'll just look at that, and we're not doing a local scope call. So we're going to scope in, and in the scope, so again, this is pretty new to VTScada 12.1, so if you haven't seen it, don't be too surprised, but we have a lot of stuff built in to help you create these expressions. So in the object here, we're just going to go in and we're going to say that this is limited to Bernoulli Lake. So we'll select that. And then the member in Bernoulli Lake, we had said was going to be asterisk alarm state stats. Okay, and that's going to be a constant. So we can just say okay to that. So this is what we're going to scope into, and then the property of that we're going to read is called unact count is what we had said. So this one is basically showing the condition that alarms are unacknowledged and not shelved. Okay, so we should be able to click OK to that, and we can see here that the condition now says 0. But if we were to change our setting here, if we were to change our set point to say 40 again, and then you can see the condition goes true, but we're just waiting for the delay. And in a minute, we go into our alarm page here and look at the active alarms, then we should see, I'll apply this first. And there we go. So you can see here the Bernoulli Lake Alarm Act Delay just triggered. So if that was linked to a specific roster that called out outside of, say, the plant, or maybe the Bernoulli Lake one is staffed 24/7, doesn't have a roster, we could put this into a different context tag, give it its own roster, and have something call out because nobody was able to acknowledge these alarms. So now that we've cleared that on Act dashboard, you can see that everything kind of resets itself, and we can go back to the page and also just clear that alarm by putting this back to a reasonable value. Well, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial from our VTScada users forum. If you'd like to contribute to the forum, please head over to forum.trihedral.com where you can ask questions or help others who may have questions about VTScada. Now, if you want to see more tutorials like that, be sure to subscribe to the Automation Village, where we'll investigate projects like adding sensors to this pop can solar system. There'll be plenty more projects like that as we explore using VTScada to automate systems in the real world, including on this 95-year-old farmhouse. Thanks for joining us. Have a great summer. We'll see you in a couple weeks. These bugs are insane.